Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Hey, Summit hosts, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software and your host on the Virtual Summit podcast. And are we in for a treat today with this episode? I got legendary Todd and Cole Whitty with us. How you guys doing today?
So awesome, good. Brother. How are you?
I am phenomenal because I get to sit here with you two. So Todd and Cole are both friends of mine. I've connected on a soul level with these two. I value them very, very much, and I'm even more excited that I get to share them with with my tribe of summit hosts because they have some experience in the summit world as well as the other dimensional world as well. So we'll get into all of that. Now, before we jump into the summit goodies we're going to talk about, I would love for you two to just take a moment and let the audience know just a little bit more about yourselves.
Sure. So, a lot could go there. Where I'm just going to go with now is where we are now is like a lot of people in their evolutionary process. Everything from my health crashed to I had to figure my life out to I was in a coma from a drug overdose to became Miss Utah Teen, did Miss Teen USA, became a personal trainer, was a full-time musician. Todd calls me Cole Gump because I'm like Forrest Gump. He doesn't know how I did everything that I've done or when I've done it. And that's led us to where we are now in the realization of health, wellness, and integrating with the body's natural processes for what you're doing in your business, in your relationships, and in your life.
My name is Todd Whitty, and I'm paired up with this amazing being who is Cole Gump. I practiced nursing in New York City for 25 years in the clinical setting, 23 in emergency. I've been a nurse for 28 years, and I decided that I needed to get out of the healthcare industry because I see how toxic it is and how dysfunctional it is and how it's based on finances and getting people to stay sick so that they can keep going back. It led me into entrepreneurship, moving into a space of doing personal training in conjunction with nursing, and because I wanted to help people stay healthy and stay away from the hospital. And then I had my own crash on my body. Broke my back, couldn't walk for 3 months, lost my clients, couldn't work as a nurse, couldn't do anything. And, my relationship crashed. Everything fell to the bottom of the barrel. And so I took all the knowledge that I had while I was sitting in my house.
All the ologies.
All of the ologies, kinesiology, pathophysiology, physiology, anatomy, all of the ologies. And I put all this stuff together, and Cole and I started doing fitness challenges and stuff for people right before that. And I took all of the knowledge that I had, the research that we did, and we started to really build on how to keep people out of that system. And this was the breaking point that got me to actualize. And what we're doing right now is we're really getting people to start to integrate with their bodies so that they never have to get to that crash point. And so this is what we're doing. We do something called biointegration, and we love what we do. Absolutely love it. And we work deeply with people in that space. And we also work with people in utilizing psychedelics to actually optimize their potential in those spaces as well.
Well, your work is something magical, something important, and something that I hope everybody will check into. We'll be linking to a lot of the information that Cole and Tal will be sharing with us in the show notes as well. Now, what's cool about this is they actually actualize some of this into a summit, which is actually a very interesting summit as I kind of dug into this a little bit. Not something I've actually seen done anywhere else. So I'd love for you, maybe Cole, if you want to give us some of the background on what the summit was, what was the reason for the summit and kind of the concept of it.
Well, I think like a lot of people, as I mentioned before, create things because it's something they wish they would have had. Like, man, if I would have had what I know now 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how much time would have saved? And it became very clear to me at one point that part of my mission was to help people get out of physical pain so that they could fulfill their purpose. Because anyone that's had severe chronic pain or illness knows that you can't conceive of anything outside of that pain. And so as I made my own dietary lifestyle shifts, because in my health crash, when I really hit that bottom point, I had endometriosis, I'd had an ovarian torsion, fibromyalgia, scoliosis in my back that was muscular, arthritis in my knee. My body was in pain all of the time.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
And so as I did diet shifts, it was like, wow, that was 65% of my symptoms went away. And then there was this other 35%, which I was okay to live with the rest of my life, to be honest. I thought that's as good as it can get, and I never conceived that pain-free was possible. So where this summit came from was that last 35%. The realization that diet matters and the internal work is pinnacle. Like, it is absolutely necessary. So that's when I got the calling to create what I called the Women's Womb Healing Summit. And I called it womb healing because it wasn't only reproductive health, it was also that area of the body, traumas from pregnancies, miscarriages, shame from sexual trauma, the way that the body holds it from different perspectives. So I wanted to take an Eastern and Western approach. So I had everything from best-selling authors like Dr. Anna Kabecka and Dr. Lara Briden, who's a best-selling author, well, both of them are, to Nikki Sharp, who's a nutrition expert, to shaman, women of more of a spiritual setting and how we hold stuff in our bodies as women. So there were methods to release through vocal exercises. There was dietary shifts. There were products that were non-toxic. I had amazing companies like FemiCycle and FemCap, which are great alternatives for reproductive. Like one of them is a blocker so that you don't get pregnant, and the other is a cup instead of using tampons. So I really was bringing together everything that I had learned about myself in the last 15 years that I didn't know. No doctors told me anything other than you can be on birth control to treat your endometriosis, and it wasn't helping. And birth control gave me some pretty severe psychoses, breakdowns. So that when that no longer became an option for me in my body, I had to find another way. So this summit came from everyone needed to know, or as many people as possible needed to know that, because it's like 4 out of 6 women are in pain that don't have to be. And that's just a guess. That's the women that are talking about it. That's not the ones who aren't going to a doctor or reporting pelvic pain of some sort. So it was more this need of everyone needs to know so that they can save all the animals or end sex slave trafficking or, help the homeless, whatever it is, they've got to be out of pain to do it.
This is, like I said, is one of the most interesting topics I've heard on a summit, which is super cool. Now, when you came up with the idea, were you familiar with summits? Were you like, oh, I got this? Or were you like, what is a summit? And how'd you kind of go through that initial stage of figuring out how to even put this whole idea together?
I definitely didn't know diddly squat. And here's the thing, we had just come out of a financial collapse. We were living in a tiny 1-bedroom in Austin, Texas, after 2 big events got just 2 different extenuating circumstances. We went from staying in a really nice beach house in Marina Del Rey to a complete collapse that within 5 days we were in an Airbnb in Inglewood, California.
On bunk beds.
On bunk beds without even a real wall. It was a foam wall that had been from the top of the breakfast bar to the ceiling.
It had a wet bar.
Oh man, it was life. Okay. Like, we got to see in a week how funny life can be. So we ended up leaving LA because we didn't have the money to bleed out. Came to Austin, Texas. And it was more like I didn't have anything to lose. Like, there was nothing to lose. And the only thing I could tap into was something contribution based. And I didn't know what I could create around me, but I knew all these amazing women because I used to have a podcast called Warrior Women with a Purpose. And I had done 3 years on that show and 250 something episodes. So I knew all these amazing women, and I was like, I need to bring these women together. And maybe that could be enough money to get us back on our feet. And it was like just enough, because it's a lot to manage all that, just one person and how he could support me. So yeah, the short version is I had no idea what I was doing. I did start researching the market. What was the information for women that wasn't only dietary or wasn't only a shamanic, woo-woo spiritual ideology? Because if I could bring them together, then I could introduce the possibility for women kind of on any part of their journey. But the women also that I had as speakers were the most heart-centered, contribution-based, and that rang through 1,000%.
Well, would you say that one of the contributing factors to the success of the summit was because of how on purpose or on point it was to this kind of mission, to this, important topic? Talk to us a little bit about how aligning something like that may help the success of a summit.
Sure. Well, for me, that was all of it. Like, there's no way if people could have felt an agenda being pressed that it would have had it. And it's so interesting to hear, because in my mind, successful still doesn't really associate to it, because the financial element, the follow-up, because I was so tired by then, was not what it could have been. It would have been all the difference. And I know what I would do differently for sure now, right? Because when you put all that work in on the front end, the follow-up on the back end, plus I was like, I hate sales. So I wasn't going fully into embracing that back then either. That's been an evolutionary process in itself. So in retrospect, there's a lot that I would change with it. But as far as when I was researching into it, I was going to Amazon, looking up some of these best-selling authors of books that resonated with me, and I would read the comments. What did women say was the most impactful element of the book? And that's what I want to talk about on the summit. And I would just keep track of it and copy stock and see, wow, a lot of women had no idea the impact of dairy on their cycle. Wow, a lot of women didn't know that these kinds of foods can cause an inflammatory response. Or, wow, there's these myofascial release techniques that I know that I could teach women to break up adhesions and scar tissue from having a C-section, because that's why their back hurts. So it was that copy stocking. What are women saying? What did they feel like the book was missing? Oh, I wish they would have talked more about this. Great. That's what would go in the copy. So that was kind of how I would copy stock.
That is actually one of the coolest ideas or strategies that I've heard. I don't think I've ever heard that before. Copy stock, using comments from even like best-selling books, what people are talking about. That is such a powerful way, because you're actually using their specific words. You're not guessing it. A lot of times summit hosts are experts in their niche or industry, and they're so close to the topic that the way they describe it is not the way their audience would describe it. And that's such a great way to research or mine information. Now, you mentioned there's things that you would go back and change. I'd like to talk about some of those. Like, what's one or maybe two bigger level things that if you were going to do this over again that you would do differently?
I would hire a VA, project manager. That's worth the $800, right? Or $1,200 for the month.
And if you're
or 3 months, really.
If you're the supporting guy or supporting gal, make sure that the person that is doing this gets a VA. It's absolutely a must. Absolutely.
Yeah, you need a project manager that even is just ticking off the to-do list. Even if you're the one doing the work, you cannot stay on top of it all. And as a result, you'll put all this work in, and by the time you hit burnout is when it matters actually more as far as the financial success at the end. And so I would say that, and then having a body launch plan. You've got your launch calendars, you've got your dates. What is your plan for yourself, especially that last launch month building up, and especially those 2 weeks before and during? You need to be getting massages and body work because you're sitting hunched over. Yep, my husband luckily I had in-house help with that one, and going for a walk every day. I put a walk in just for 15 minutes, go sit outside or go for a walk. Because that break, even though it seems like you need to stay in it. You need the break. Your brain needs the break. And then I actually planned out my meals, and he would bring me my meals. So if you have someone helping support you, we would plan out what I would eat. He would come bring it to me, hand it to me on my desk to ensure I'm getting enough carbohydrates, water, and nutrition to keep my neurology functioning at a high level.
Those electrolytes were super important for her during that time, making sure that she had electrolytes on deck and water on deck. I was monitoring everything. So, being the nurse, I'm circulating and watching her physiology. So I made sure that she had it together.
Well, we've had several other summit hosts actually on this podcast talk about how their health literally deteriorated from their summit, and a couple times actually put them in the hospital because of the stress. And so this is amazing to hear this other side of it, not just the, hey, this happened, but here's what you need to be considering going into your summit. It's not just all the technical pieces, not just the summit copy and the promotion, but like you said, your body launch plan. What is the plan for your body while you're going through this stressful moment? Now, I'd like to kind of follow up into this a little bit with, the things that you might change or would do a little bit differently. I consider what you did when your summit successful. It's in the top, I'd say the top 20% of normal summits as far as lead generation. So, but you were mentioning in our pre-interview chat that you didn't have a whole lot of help on that. So talk about that kind of breakdown that happened. Don't talk about the solution yet, because I want to come back to that. Yeah. But what actually happened, and what was kind of the breakdown in this process?
So the breakdown of what didn't work was that I had put a lot of intention into all of the pre-preparatory efforts. And I really only gave myself a month to pull it off. That is not enough time for prep for something. I mean, I had 27 experts. That is not enough time because I pre-recorded everything, right? So I had some days that I'm doing 4 or 5 hours back to back, and you don't realize the impact of having to stay focused for that long. And I would feel fried afterwards. So one of the things, 90 days, man, don't do that to yourself in 30 days, especially if you're doing something that big, or start small. I started at 12 and it swelled till 27 because as people heard about it, they're like, can I get in on this? I want to contribute. And I was like, yeah, the more the merrier. Don't do that. Decide who you want, stay with it unless, it's someone that really speaks to you, which was all 27 for me. But again, neither here nor there. The other thing that I would change is I would contract the people participating to their commitment level, and asking them the questions of what's already on your plate. Are you sure that this is something that you can manage? Maybe they've got a big launch and they want to get more traction. However, their calendar's already full and their emails broadcasts have already been set up. There's really not space to promote something different. So I would ask more qualifying questions of the speakers so that we are clear. Not that all of my speakers didn't have the intention to. However, it was after the fact, it was, oh, I'm sorry that I really didn't share it at all. And I had all the copy ready. So pre-qualifying questions, get clear on your intention of what you're asking of the speakers so that they're clear and they can determine if this is something that's going to fit for them right now. And if it doesn't, bless and release and just say, this is what I'm looking for right now. And if that doesn't work for you, cool. Or be okay with them not sending out any info and because you want to work with them. That clarity would have saved me a lot of frustration for sure. And the more time.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Well, this is probably one of the most common, if at least in the top 3 complaints or issues that most summit hosts have, is speakers not helping promote. And I think a lot of it, is they didn't know in advance, or they didn't approach it the correct way, and, miscommunication potentially. And that's why I love this podcast, for one, and getting to actually dig into this insight from summit hosts like yourself, because now they know. Now you need to give those speakers enough time in advance, talk to them, make sure and make sure they're promoting. Otherwise, you're going to go into this thing after you've done all this time and energy, and it's just you against the world, essentially. Now, with that being said, Cole Whitty's not one to back down from that kind of a challenge, right? So you managed to step up and find a solution around it. Let's get into the hustle aspect, the work aspect that you did to kind of take this task on your own shoulders and overcome it and still make it a success. So talk us through some of the strategies you were using to still get it out in front of other people that weren't dependent on your speakers.
Sure. I mean, part of it was I had to play with the algorithms a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I would see what kind of posts would get traction. Was it when I ask a question? Was it just sharing a short fact? Hey, did you know? Right? Every day. Wow, I just, hey, did you know that, 2 out of 3 women experience this? Have you been told that pain is normal? It's not normal, even if it's common. Like, little things like that to get people like interacting a little bit. So I would do that on my own personal timeline. And then in the groups in Facebook that I was in, I wasn't trying to pitch anyone. I was sharing information, and I would share it in a way where they would wonder who I was, click on my profile picture, and I would have a post that day that would be epic value. And then at the end being like, I've got the Women's Womb Healing Summit, coming up in 8 days. It's going to be free for 72 hours. Jump in on this 27 hours of content, whatever. So I would pique someone's interest so that they would go back to my page. I would also have my profile picture, that if they click my profile picture, it's the summit with all of the speakers. So it looks like, wow, there's a lot of women listed here. Maybe they'd recognize one. And then I'd have the link to the summit connected to my profile picture. And then I would change my cover photo, so that the second someone even clicks to see who I am, you can't miss it. And not from a sales thing, from an excitement and wonder, like of being in awe of like, wow, I want to be a part of this. Anything that I create, anything we do now, our retreats, our trips to swim with whales in Tonga, or whatever, we create what we want to experience. What would get me to show up? If I'm not excited about the content, the colors, what's being said, how can I anticipate it's going to excite anyone else? And that changes the energy of how we share what we do when we're excited and we're like, it's not selling. It's like telling a friend, dude, you haven't tried that restaurant yet? You have to go. Like, it's the difference of having a fanatic or a fanaticism to what you're sharing versus a complacent or shame or guilt of, because I know I'm just going to sell you something. I was like, I know how amazing this is, that even if you don't buy anything, I know how many women could come out of this pain-free or on the path to pain-free at no cost to them.
We got to unpack this, because you just gave two extremely, and I know we still even have more things that I want you to share as well, but this is such a powerful strategy that I don't really see anybody using. And I get asked this question all the time: how do I promote my summit? How do I get people on my summit other than speakers? Well, this is 2 huge pieces. One, think of it from your own perspective. what would it take to get me to show up? Like, think about that. I think a common mistake, in marketing in general, but for sure with summit hosts, is they're trying to think about their audience, and sometimes they get too much in the head, too much caught up in their own mind versus like, well, what gets you excited? What would get you excited? Promote it like you're excited. Yeah. 2, what you just said there about, and if you could almost do like step 1, step 2, step 3, but this is great, like putting out amazing content that brings people back to your page, having a post on your page with a phenomenal post that has more information that then directs to the summit, as well as having on your Facebook page, for example, cover picture with the summit, which is this is free publicity, free marketing right there. Yeah. And you're putting this and as you mentioned, and to clarify again, is you're not spamming groups. You're not saying, hey, go to my summit, go to my summit. You're providing value, and the people who are, what's best about this is you're providing value, and the people who are interested ask, talk about it, and then look into you. So it's more engaged people versus just a bunch of people. So talk about how that aspect actually created more people who actually showed up for the summit because of the process they had to go to even get the information.
Well, it's people that are already seeking. I don't have to sell anyone on this. If they're like, wait, I have pelvic pain. I didn't know there was another way. Oh, wait, there, you can hold shame in your abdominal area. I've never heard that before. Tell me more. They have to invest time and effort. And, not only financial exchange is one type of investment, so is time, so is energy. So what I realized in this, and as I watched, Mark, this has been now almost 2 years since this particular summit. People still hit me up because they remember it, because not only as I posted this information in groups, people started to tag me when a woman would ask, hey guys, I just switched birth control. Has anyone ever experienced these symptoms before? People would tag me. They started to know me as the go-to expert. I'm not the doctor. I'm not the best-selling author. I'm the conduit of information, and I'm the landing crew at the airport, right? I'm just directing traffic. So not only that, my speakers got clients out of this summit, so they were excited. Why? I became the expert of information access, not the expert of the industry itself. But it was knowing, I've always positioned myself, whether it was in music or in psychedelics or in other things that we do, as the people to come to direct you to your next step. Because if it's not us, we want to ensure what we want is to be able to guide you to your next step. So become the access point of your field. Become the people that everyone thinks of, not because you're the one they might want to work with, but because you know who they could.
And I love that, the conduit of information. You guys you're wordsmiths over there as well, is what you are. That is amazing. And I love this concept of provide value, people who are attracted, because I'm all about, I think one of the biggest flaws or misconceptions that unfortunately a lot of gurus put out there is that it's about the size of the audience. You have to have this huge audience in order to be successful, and it's not the truth. You need a qualified and engaged audience, and by this strategy you just said costs you nothing other than time and energy, some hustle for sure, but builds an engaged audience that is looking for that information, and they're willing to take a couple extra steps to get there. But you didn't just stop there with the hustle, right? There was also, you've got this going, you're already in a tough spot. The speakers who you were kind of hoping on kind of left you hanging here. So you're reaching out to groups, but you didn't just stop with that. What are some other tactics you did to actually even get down to the singular one-on-one level with this?
Yeah, the thing that I observed a lot of this, and being the support person with this, Cole recruited super fans, and she was like, look, here's an affiliate link, how do you feel about this stuff? The people who are really passionate about this stuff, she got them to share and to tell people directly. And I think that was one very important thing. Another thing was, get the people, the trickle down effect people on board. I'm the trickle down effect of the Women's Womb Healing Summit, because as Cole got her body situated, things were easier for me. So what I did was I went and I told the guys, hey, listen, if you want your lady to be in a good space, this is what you do. So I don't have a womb to be healed, but I know plenty of people that have wombs. And it's just when you get a person that they're going to be, their lifestyle is going to be made a lot easier, they will go and share it with everybody. And I had a lot of guys take Cole's links and for this summit and share it. And it was crazy. And I have 5,000 people on Facebook, and I have all these people on Instagram, and I'm just like, look, y'all need to tell y'all girls about this stuff. And my fans listen to me, my people listen to me. So but if he's saying it and their relationship is awesome. So it's really being able to recruit the people that are your super fans and the people that are going to have that trickle down, that you have that rapport with, that don't mind, then I don't mind sharing. So, that is one of the most powerful things in the world. And Cole has some super fans that have really huge audiences. And so she told them, look, I'd love for you to share this. And they were like, no problem, done. And they went and they talked about it. And I think it was a really awesome space to be with expanding the audience for the summit. I think it was a great addition.
And with with hitting people up one-on-one, I knew. So here's the thing. for getting as many people as we did, out of the 7,000, or, give or take, just under 7,000, it was almost 5 of that came from me, my efforts and my connections. If you look on our Instagram, we have like 1,800 people. If you look on my personal Facebook, 5,000 people. If you look on our business page, like 1,000 people. That did not deter me. I knew I had to do differently, and I knew I had to engage one-on-one, And so if someone, if I did a post on my personal page and was like, ladies, I've just learned this. If you want to know more information, I just found a great article. If you want it, let me know and I'll shoot it to you in your inbox so you don't lose it. And so I would get the dialogue going, because I would do an article that would directly support the Women's Womb Healing Summit in some way, right? Maybe it mentions how many women aren't aware of all of these issues and, whatever. So someone reads it, they get value out of that, and they go, wow, thank you for sharing. I'm like, yeah, I'm so passionate about this. And in fact, I've got this huge summit coming up where I'm covering all of this in detail. If you want it, let me know. It's going to be free for 3 days. I always was specific. I didn't say if you want it. I told them, I was honest and upfront. It's free for the 3 days. And then I'm going to charge $100, or whatever it was, for you to keep it for life. And I would put that right there so that they don't show up on the page and find out like, oh, well, then I'm going to have to pay and get turned off. So I'd be like, so for these 3 days, all these are free. I'm going to tell you the itinerary ahead of time so you know when to tune in, grab what you want, forget what you don't. And I led with transparency and compassion and excitement for going back to that. I really believed in it. I really believed that it was going to change a lot of people's lives.
And there's one other thing that I observed Cole do. I don't even know if you remember this, but Cole set 30 minutes aside a day to personally message people back that were asking questions about this stuff. And it was, it's just like the fortitude on this lady was absolutely incredible. She said that after doing all this recording and doing all this stuff and posting all this stuff, her Facebook Messenger was flooded. And so she was like, I'm going to take 30 minutes a day. I don't want to be bothered. I'm going to respond to these women's questions. And she went and that's where I believe a lot of people came from too, is just that she really put that extra 30 minutes, you got 24 hours in a day, 30 minutes she put in a day to just, hey, listen, I hear you. This is what I went through. And like these detailed, messages back and forth. I think it was awesome. I have a lot of reverence for this woman, not just for this summit, but for her fortitude with all of this stuff.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
This is so inspiring all around, which I already knew you two were inspiring, but like this right here is something that is overlooked by so many people in the world today, is the importance of actually a little bit of hard work, right? Like instead of just expecting it to just come easy, or, well, I just wanted my speakers to just hand me everything. I mean, we take a stance over at Viral Summits that we're anti-list grabbers. Like we don't create summits to try and scrape the list of our speakers. We create something that is so powerful and is so important that people want to be a part of it and want to share it. But you can't ever forget about the importance of actually spending a little bit of time and working hard. And I would also add into that your authenticity. Like people could feel and see still to this day how much it excites you, how important it is to you, and that attracts people to it. So I really think Summit hosts, you listening into this, it's time to get a little bit of hustle under you right now. It's time to dig down deep and work a little bit extra hard, and you can do it. I mean, this, in my opinion, is a huge success, especially in light of the fact you did it in such a short amount of time and didn't really have the support of the speakers as you would have hoped for. I mean, this has just been such great information. Two things before we go. One, first off, I'm sure everybody is like, Mark, I need a little more Tom Cole in my life. Where are they hanging out at? How can I get a hold of them? So let everybody know where you guys are hanging out and the best way to get in touch with you.
Sure. I mean, so everyone is pivoting right now. We're pivoting also because we've been reliant on live events primarily and retreats and trips the last few years. And so to get in contact with us now, the best way is to text the word optimize to 22999. That's going to give you all our links. It's also going to give you access to a quiz that's just Get Help quiz to see where you are. So that's going to give you the text optimize to 22999. We'll tell you how to get in touch with us, so that way we don't want you just thrown in a list. We actually want, with all these changes, we want to lean in. We want to get closer. And this way people can also see what we're doing. It has a link to our podcast, which is Mentor in the Mirror. And you can really get a good sense of what we're doing now.
And for all of our people in the UK and countries that spell optimize with an S, it's optimize with a Z. So you just want to let you know so that you make sure that you get that right.
They can't use it outside of the US, the text code.
But there are people here from the UK that use optimize with an S.
It's true. Actually, that's a valid point. I didn't even think about that, but I like a lot, even in my Australian friends who are here in the US, and I saw one of them post Center, CNTRE, right? I'm like, where are you getting that thing at? So that's a great point, and we'll put this in the show notes too, so everybody can grab that there as well. Now, I'd love for you to kind of leave us with a parting piece of wisdom. Again, we're talking to summit hosts that maybe in this moment they're a little afraid, they're a little worried. Like, is this the right thing to do? Is this not the right thing to do? What, like, maybe give them just a little inspiration that they can do this.
Sure. I mean, it all comes down to simplification. I know you want to do all of the things and you think you have to do all of the things for it to be successful. You don't. You need a plan. You need a daily itinerary. You need to build in your meal planning, your meal prep, and you need to be able to be present to what's going on in your body, because that burnout will tank, and not only will it impact either the summit itself or right after, you'll end up integrating any money you make back into your health to get back on track. And it's a big deterrent of time and resources. So it's just, when you're looking at everything that needs to be done, how can you simplify? How can you be more intentional so that people lean in and it's not only up to you? You know, like, what access do you have using software like Mark's? I didn't have any of that. You know, I didn't have any back-end support or anything. So it's worth investing in resources and support. And on a mental capacity, on a mental standpoint, just stay in your why. Have a daily mantra to remind yourself when you're getting overwhelmed, I've got this. Remind the people that are supporting you, friends, family, that when you're looking a little drained, you know, to remind you, you got this. Or take 5 minutes and go for a walk. You know, having a daily mantra of why it's important to you will help you stay out of overwhelm, because that is going to drain not only the drive to complete it, but your physical health.
And you can get more on looking into yourself on our podcast. It's called Mentor in the Mirror. It's really about self-reflection and knowing that you are the greatest mentor that you could ever have. And it's right in the mirror watching you all the time. All you got to do is look and ask.
I love that name, Mentor in the Mirror. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been an epic episode. I've learned a ton, and I cannot wait to dive into more into the podcast and see what other kind of brilliance you create later this year. So thank you so much for taking this time with us.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
And thank you, all you Summit hosts, for hanging out with Taw Cole and myself. I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Don't forget to head over to the show notes to get access to all these amazing goodies and Summit gems that Taw and Cole just shared with us over at podcast.virtualsummits.com/155. And remember, your message matters. So go out there and make an impact in the world, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the Summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.